What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing 3 looks with the new Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. First of all, can we talk about this packaging? Packaging on this palette is 1,000,000 times cooler in person than it looked in the pictures that they posted online, and quite frankly it is looking mighty fine on camera right now too. Just so pretty, like the texture, the composition, like everything about this palette on the outside, stunning. I'm going to be doing 3 looks with it today, and my focus is going to be trying to use the new formula in different ways so we can get a really nice picture of how this performs, because this is something new from Urban Decay. The colors on the inside, there are 4 matte shades. One of them is actually kind of a satin. We'll get to that later. And there are 8 of these. They call them crystallized, I think, or something. Hold on. Urban Decay did send this to me, but I don't have the whole collection, just the palette, in case you guys were wondering. I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover. Oh, everything will be timestamped in the description. All products will be linked in the description. If you want to leave a like on this video, it's very helpful and I would very much appreciate it. If you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe, because why not hang out for more videos, chat about makeup, look at some cool makeup looks. I think it'll be a good time. This is actually the second look because I didn't have time to film an intro yesterday when I did the first look. But with that out of the way, let's just get into look number 1 with the new Urban Decay Stoned Vibes eyeshadow palette. Okay, so here is the palette freshly opened. I dipped my finger into a couple of the shades yesterday, but for the most part, still pretty fresh. It does come with a little brush in here. Generally speaking, I don't usually tend to like the brushes that are included in these palettes, so I'm just gonna put that on the side for now. I remember back in the day, Urban Decay used to include one of their 24/7 pencils in some of their palettes rather than a brush, and I kind of wish they would go back to that because that was awesome. I feel like my jaw contour is like really over the top today, but whatever, it's there now and it's staying. My plan for this video is to try to use these shadows in a few different ways because the formula is new, the finish is a little bit interesting, and I think that trying them like over different bases and stuff will give us a better idea of what this palette is like. So for the first one, my intention is not to be boring, but I do want to start with a really simple look, almost using these shades as like a wash of color just to see how they work as a standalone, and I will do my damnedest to make that look as interesting as possible by the way we pair it and the lashes and all that stuff, so you guys aren't bored to death. But I do want you to see how they work on their own first. The next look, I think I'm going to try over a black base, and I haven't completely decided what I want to do for the third look just yet, but I have some ideas. So to begin, I'm going to grab my BH number 7. I'm going to go into the shade Antidote, which is like this peachy nude, very, very light, and I'm going to put it through my crease. Because this is going to be more of like a simple look, almost wash of color-esque, I'm going to bring this up really, really high. That way we can get some boldness from the placement and the size of this look, where we might not get it from the colors and the structure. Does that make sense? Am I just talking out my ass? Sometimes I just talk to talk in these videos. You guys say you learn things from it though, so I don't know. Maybe it's good. I don't fucking know anymore. I'm losing my mind. Next, I'm going to go into this shade Hex. This is a matte brown on a BH number 7, and I'm going to put that through the crease as well, just keeping it a little bit more concentrated, just trying to build up some shape in that crease area. So far, the matte shades are reminding me of the matte shades in the Urban Decay Naked palettes, which I like. I like that formula. So far, so good. I'm bringing a little bit of that down onto the outer corner of the lid to create some depth and shape and space there. I'm blending it up into that peachy shade Antidote. While I'm here, I'm going to bring a little bit of Hex onto the inner corner. This is not going to be a spotlight per se, but we could use the same principles to deepen the outer corners and create some depth on the eye. All right, enough with these mattes. We're here to play with the shimmers. Hello. I'm going to grab my MAC 242 brush and I'm going to go into Bloodstone. It looks to me like this one is going to be almost like a blue-brown shifting kind of a shade. So I'm going to pick up a bunch of that on that flat brush and begin packing it across the lid. And we're going to see if it works well on a flat brush. Should we wet it? Should we switch to our finger? We're going to find out. So far, flat brush is definitely working. Let's see how it works on the ring finger though. Maybe that'll work even better because I feel like that's working fine, but we could be getting more color payoff. Ooh, yeah. Finger is definitely better. My move is going to be pack down with the finger and then like do the detailing with a brush, you know? So going back in with that brush again, I'm bringing that over the whole lid, and I'm even putting that color down over the matte that I put on the outer corner. You know what, while we're here, I do want to see how that performs if we dampen it. So I'm going to pack a little bit more onto the brush, spritz it with a little bit of MAC finishing spray, and see what we get. Interesting, it's almost like when I use it wet, it looks more textured like it does in the pan, which is fun. I like that. Okay, next I'm going to dip into the shade Tiger's Eye, which is also in the neutral-ish realm, but also seems to have a little bit of greenness in there. I'm thinking it's gonna look really good popped over the center of this. So I'm gonna go right in with my ring finger this time, since I want that pop of color and that pop of intensity, but I don't want it to like take over the whole look. So I'm gonna go right into the center with that. Ooh, I like how these are layering. That's so damn, I like that. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I think maybe when we get into like the close-ups, you guys will see this more, or you will have seen it in the close-ups at the beginning of this video, that these have like a lot of texture to them. It's like it has particles of shimmer, but there are different sizes of it, which creates more of like that stone sort of a crystal feel to it, which is honestly really interesting, and so far I am enjoying it very much. For the waterline, I'm going to go through with a rich shimmering brown. This is the Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in the color Corrupt. I'm going to run that through my waterline now so we can blend that in with the surrounding shades. I'm going to take my beach number 7 because it's a little smaller, and I'm going to go into Antidote again, and I'm going to use that to start smoking out the lower lash line. Just bringing that down nice and low and round to go around with the rest of the shape of this look. Bringing it all the way around both ends of the eye as well. Next, I'm going to take a pencil brush. I'm going to go back into Hexed again. I'm going to sweep that under the lower lashes, just right where we smudged that brown liner in. On this smaller, more detailed brush, I'm going to go into Bloodstone again, and I'm going to run that on the lower lash line right over where I put that dark brown to see how that color pops over a darker shade. I'm only doing it on the outer third and inner third though, leaving the center part open. I'm pretty sure you could already guess why. Because I'm going to dip into the other shade, Tiger's Eye, on that same brush and put it in the center as like a little pop of lightness. Because this look is so shimmer based and lacks a lot of definition just because of how I set the look up, what I want to do is just take a really, really thin line of black liquid liner right along my lashes. It kind of gives a crisp, defined line that you're not even going to notice under the lash band, but it'll make the whole look kind of seem more neat, if that makes sense. I just stuck on my lashes and I haven't let them dry and like squished them into place yet. But while I'm here, I just remembered I didn't put anything on my inner corner. Like, who even am I? So I'm going to grab my Luxie 111 Mini, and I think I'm going to go into the shade Vibes, which is right up here. Looks like it should be a little bit lighter than the other shades. We're going to see what this looks like on the inner corner. Oh yeah, that is perfect for an inner corner highlight shade. All right, I'm going to finish up the rest of this and we'll do a lip. All right, I put on House of Blush's Siren Doubles. Quite frankly, I am feeling very shimmery and very pretty and living for the textures on my lids right now. Today is a really rainy, a little bit chilly, fall-esque kind of a day, so I am feeling vampy, honey. So for the lip, we're gonna vamp it up a little bit. So I'm gonna grab the NABLA Cupid's Arrow Stylo in the shade number 3, which looks like this. It's very, very dark when you put it on the lips, and I'm gonna fill the center in with Underdog from Fenty and create like a little bit of an ombre between these two. Quite frankly, I'm probably going to have to change my lip before I go anywhere because I'm going to have to wear a mask over it, but we're just going to pretend that that's not the case for a few minutes while I enjoy it together as one. And this is the first look. For the second look, I want to focus on trying these shimmers over a black base. And I feel like a black base with this rich green colored jade is going to be stunning. After filming the first look yesterday, watching some of the footage back, and just wearing that look for the rest of my day, which is what I did, I felt like I was so happy with the way that shimmer looked on my lids, because there are like different particle sizes of shimmer in the shadow that just give it like this nice texture. Even one of my friends who I went out to grab some lunch with, who's not really a makeup person, was like, I like whatever's going on your lids here. There's a lot of shimmer happening and I don't know what it is, but I like it. Like, that was the reaction. So that always usually says something. So to start the second look, I am going to start with the same shade we started with the first look. I'm going to go into Antidote on a BH number 6 brush. I'm going to put that right through my crease area. Ooh, somehow I got this brush wet. How the hell did I do that? Okay, let's just change brushes, because what the fuck? It's my coffee cup. My coffee cup got it wet. So I'm going to use a Morphe M441 brush. It's just to fluff some of this shade through the crease anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Toward the end, I am going to flick it outward though, because I'm going to do like a little lifted, more cat shape on the outer corner. On a Sigma E36, I'm going to go into Hexed again, which was the dark brown matte. It's actually more of like a medium brown. I kind of wish this brown was darker, TBH. We'll talk about all of that at the end of the video, but that's like one of my little minor gripes so far. I'm going to put that right through the crease area, just above my natural crease, to kind of open that lid space up more. And I'm going to bring a little bit of that shade from the lash line right up to meet the outer corner, kind of start to form a point. I'm constantly joking that this eyeshadow shape makes me look like the Nightman, and here I am doing it over and over and over again. You know what? At some point you have to question yourself, do I want to look like the Nightman? Maybe the answer is yes, maybe I do. Okay, now we need our black base. So I'm going to grab the NABLA Cupid's Arrow Stylo in the color number 4, and I'm going to use this to basically just draw on a shape. I'm going to make the shape a little bit smaller than I intend it to be initially, and then blend it real fast into the shape with a pencil brush. I'm going to start at my lash line. Granted, I understand that this looks batshit right now, but it's gonna be okay, okay? Totally, it's totally gonna be fine. Am I convincing you, or am I convincing myself? It remains to be seen. I'm gonna take my BH number 7, and I'm gonna go into the shade Third Eye, which is like this kind of purpley plummy shade in here. It seems like almost a satin finish, which I don't love generally, but we're gonna use that to just sort of buff that black into the shade that we use to blend the crease. At some point, this is all gonna come together, and you're gonna leave a comment and say, you know what, Nicole? I never should have doubted you. Leave it. Leave the comment. Leave the comment. Go zoom ahead and see how good this came out, and then come back and leave the comment. All right, I have the black base down. It's not the most even right now, but we're gonna go over it with other things anyways. I'm gonna dive right into that color Jade, and I'm gonna use it on my finger at first, and then I'm gonna pick up my MAC 242 brush again, so that way, like when I get toward the edges and stuff and it's a little too narrow for my finger, I can get in there for that part, but I get like the texture that the finger application provides. Yeah, doing this green over a black base was a really good choice. Hell yeah. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit more of Third Eye, blend that through the crease again just to even that out. But why would I be happy leaving well enough alone? I wouldn't. So I'm gonna go into this shade Raw Energy, which is a little bit lighter. It looks like it has a bit of a green shift and maybe some lavender, and I'm gonna pick a little bit of that up on my finger and just pop that right in the center. I'm a big fan of the way that these layer over each other. I've noticed that like when you layer them on top of each other, it kind of amplifies the textured effect. This green is really doing something to me right now. I put some concealer and powder down underneath my eyes, and I put a fair bit of powder because I noticed that when I was using the glitter, I got some underneath my eye, and I don't know if it was fallout or if I got it like because I like fat fingered it, you know what I mean? So just in case, I decided to put some extra powder so we can sweep it away. I'm gonna take that same NABLA Stylo and run it right through my waterline. I'm gonna bring a little bit of it down through my lower lashes as well. Use that same pencil brush just to buff that out, and then sweep that shape right up into the wing at the top. On that BH number 7 brush, which is now quite dirty, but it doesn't really matter, I'm going to go back into that peachy shade Antidote, and I'm going to use that to start blending the edge of that out. And on my Sigma E36, I'm going to go back into Third Eye, tickle that right along the edge of the black to blend the black right into the peach. I'm going to grab a little lash line smudger brush, and I'm going to go into the color Jade. The lower lash line, I never have very much luck using my finger on that, so I'm not even going to try. Pack some of that right onto that brush and just wet it with a little bit of MAC Fix Plus, so that way we get a similar application that we would with our finger. And I'm going to put that along the lower lash line right over where we put those darker shades. And I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of that shade Third Eye and blend that again. On my Luxie 111 Mini, I'm going to go into the shade Raw Energy. This time I'm picking that up on a brush as well rather than my finger, and I'm going to wet it, and I'm going to use that to highlight my inner corner. Alright, I finished up my skin and I put on House of Lashes Aquamarine lashes, and we're going to add a little lip to this look, but before we do that, I have to talk about, wow, I'm enjoying this. Texture, shimmer, richness. Black base was a good call, also matches my nails. Feeling really good right now. So what I'm going to do is grab the Milk lip liner in the color French Kiss, and I'm going to use this to define the lip line, create a little bit of depth, overline a little bit, and then I'm going to go over the top with the e.l.f. Ride or Die lip balm. This is in the shade Tough Cookie, and it is kind of like a I would call this like a pinky nude. If I could get it to squeeze out of the tube. Hello friend, it's a pinky nude, just trust me. I wound up adding a little bit of the NABLA Shine Theory gloss in the color District just to make the nude shade a little bit lighter because it was a little bit too colorful for my taste to go with the rest of the look. With that being said, this is look number 2. For the third look, I want to try applying these kind of just with my finger and kind of just like a wash. The reason being, I saw this clip on the Urban Decay Instagram of them applying it to somebody's face. I think they were using the color Meditate because it looked kind of pinkish, and they put it over her whole lid and it looked phenomenal. I cannot in my mind justify using just one color over the whole lid as a look here on this channel, because why are you watching that? You know how to do that. I think I am going to almost recreate one of my favorite looks that I did with the Desi Katie Friendcation palette. I've done similar looks to it many times where I do like a pop of color on the inner corner and like a really crisp black wing. I don't know why I'm over explaining this. I'm just kind of trying to collect my thoughts and forcing you to listen to it while I do it. But alas, we should start. So I'm gonna grab my BH number 6, I'm gonna go into Antidote, and I am going to just use this very, very lightly through the crease to create just a tiny, tiny bit of something there. Mainly because if I don't do something to define my lids, they look like raw dough. Specifically pizza dough, if you think about it. So I want to do a pop of blue on the inner corner, and I'm going to go into the shade Oho right here. What I'm going to do initially is take this flat brush. This is a ColourPop E3 brush, and I'm going to go into that shade and I'm going to put it where I want it on my lid, and then I'm going to layer back over it with my finger. This way I can kind of control where I'm putting it and then also get the texture of the finger application. Since I'm using this flat brush, I'm going to kind of create almost like a harsher line, like a cut crease line on the top, and see if I like that. And if I don't like it in the end, I can just blend over it with a brush and get rid of it. But for now, I don't know, that sounds kind of like a good time. Then on my pinky finger, because it's the smallest one I have, I'm gonna take some of that shade and press it on top of where we put that blue down to get the texture a little bit more poppin'. And again, blend the edge of the clean brush. All right, now that it looks like I got punched in the face, I'm gonna take my Luxie 111 Mini and I'm gonna go into the shade Opal Aura. This is a bluish shade, but it is very bright looking, and I'm thinking it's gonna brighten up this inner corner and create a bit of an ombre real nicey nice. So far, very pretty. And just like before, I'm gonna use my finger to tap some of it on and create a little bit more texture. And again, I'm gonna go over the edges of that with a brush that's clean. And when I say clean, it doesn't have to be like the most clean brush in the world. Just don't add any more product to it, you know what I mean? I cleaned up underneath my eyes with a makeup wipe because I was getting a little bit of the shimmer from the lid onto my under eye with my finger because, like I said, I just can't get in there with the nails, and maybe my fingers are big, I don't know. To balance out this look, I'm going to grab my Benefit roller liner and I'm going to create a big fat wing. And this will balance the look in two ways. It'll balance the shape of it so the eye isn't only emphasized on the inner corner, but also because it will give you something that's not shimmer and is nice and dark, so it'll balance it visually by giving like a different texture and a little bit more depth, and a little bit more definition and clean lines as opposed to the shimmer that we have going on here. Does that make sense? Or is it just me babbling again? I have to touch this up just a little bit more, but now that you have that basic shape down, you can really compare it to this other side and see what I'm saying about the balance of the whole situation. The balance, the balance. All right, now that this is done, I'm gonna keep the bottom really, really minimal. So first things first, I'm gonna take my Sigma E36, I'm gonna go into a little bit of the shade Hexed, and I'm gonna use that to just softly define especially the outer half of the lower lash line, sweep it up underneath the wing, just so that it's not completely unbalanced on the underneath side as well. And then I'm going to take the same Luxie 111 mini and go back into Opal Aura and sweep that underneath the lashes. For the waterline, I'm just popping a nude pencil in there to open it up. All right, I put on House of Blushes Aquamarine again, and I finished up my skin. And for the lip, oh my god, my lashes are just like sitting funky on one side, and I think I fucked up my eyeliner, but you know what? Let's talk about the lipstick. I'm going to line my lips with the Haus Labs Rip Lip Pencil. I always fuck that name up. I'm like rip, snip, dip, hip, lip. I'm going to use this pencil in the color Rule, and I'm going to fill the center in with the MAC Powder Kiss Liquid Lipstick in the color Date Maker. I feel like the kind of like nudish, satiny finish will complement this well, because I said so. And this is the third look. All right, after 3 looks, let's talk about it for a second. Overall, I think that this palette is really beautiful, and I also think that this palette is something fun that I haven't seen anything quite like, at least not within recent memory. Like, I can't think of something off the top of my head that I feel the same way about as I do with this palette, or that replicates the textures in this palette. Nothing that I own anyway. The shimmers in here remind me very much of the ones in the Huda Beauty palettes. However, using them I feel is a little bit different than that. These are more textured on the lid. They kind of work like foiled shadows, but there are different size particles in the eyeshadow, some of which almost border on being a glitter because they're a little bit larger. It's like a shimmer and a glitter in one, a shitter, if you will. My eyelids are very shittery today. But that difference in particle size in these shadows makes for a much more interesting look. I also find that, unlike pretty much any other shadow I've ever used, these layer in a way that they kind of keep getting prettier and prettier the more you layer them, but also like layering one color over another seems to have a really beautiful effect too. They do work really well with your finger, but they can also be applied with a brush, which I like the freedom of that. The one thing that I don't think I necessarily love about this palette are the matte shades. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. They performed well. They are a fairly decent assortment of matte shades. However, I don't think that there is a shade quite dark enough for my taste, especially because I have fairly fair skin. So if it's not really dark enough for me, then there's not going to be dark enough for a lot of people. The color Third Eye is the deepest shade in here, and it's a satin. It's not quite a matte, which does not perform the same way. It doesn't add the same structure to the look because a satin will reflect light, so it doesn't help deepen things as much as it could if it were a matte. If I were gonna design this palette myself, Good Karma and Antidote could stay the same. Hexed should be like a darker, more chocolate brown, and instead of Third Eye, they should have just gone with a straight matte black. And I think those changes would have made it a much more versatile palette for anyone. Or they could have just done away with the mattes altogether and just made this a palette of these types of shadows. Because in my mind, there are two different types of eyeshadow palettes out there. There are eyeshadow palettes that you can use to create an entire look that you can bring with you on vacation and know you don't need anything else with you. And then there are eyeshadow palettes that are just a variety of an interesting formula that you want to use in conjunction with other things. The only color I didn't use was the shade Meditate, so I'm gonna just show you what that looks like on my finger very quickly. It's not like the most interesting shade in the whole palette, but it's definitely very pretty, and I can see myself using that over my lid just on like a casual day with a pair of lashes or something. Leave me a comment, let me know if you picked this up, if you were thinking about picking it up, what your thoughts are. I would love to hear what you have to say. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it or found it helpful, because it's super helpful to me and I would really appreciate it. And if you are new around here, go ahead and subscribe, because if you enjoyed this video, there's literally no reason why not to. If you want to keep up with me a little bit more often, I'm at Miss Quinn Face over on Instagram, and I keep that updated a lot, so come find me over there. I think that is all I have to say for today, so thank you very much for hanging out and talking makeup with me today. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one.